Evan had always considered himself invisible, a man in the margins of the world's chaos. Life was easier that way, or so he believed. But on a rainy Thursday night, under flickering hallway lights, Evan found himself cast in a role he never wanted, the only witness to a living nightmare. The scream was a knife to his senses, sharp and unrelenting. It wasn't just loud, it was visceral, a cry from deep within, filled with terror and desperation. Evan's hand froze on the railing of the apartment stairwell. The sound wasn't just noise, it was an alarm that something was terribly, irreversibly wrong. The scream came again, fractured by sobs, followed by a guttural roar. It was coming from Chad's apartment. Everyone knew Chad, the storm that walked on two legs. His muscles filled doorways, his temper cracked walls, and his silence was more ominous than his rage. Evan had heard the arguments before, muffled by thin drywall, but this was different. Heart racing, Evan pressed his ear to Chad's door. Maria's voice cut through the air, a frantic string of pleas and apologies. Then came the crash. A table? A plate? Evan couldn't tell, but the sound of it echoed in his chest like a thunderclap. His phone felt impossibly heavy as he pulled it from his pocket, his fingers trembling over the screen. The operator picked up quickly, her voice eerily calm against the storm in his mind. 911, what's your emergency? Evan's voice was barely a whisper. It's my neighbor. I think he's going to kill her. The dispatcher's measured tone and her promise that help was on the way did little to quiet the storm inside him. He paced the hallway, flinching as Chad's voice boomed again, words slurred with alcohol and fury. The minutes stretched into an eternity, each second marked by the sound of Maria's sobs and Chad's escalating rage. Then, like a savior descending from the heavens, the wail of sirens pierced the tension. Blue and red lights reflected off the rain-slicked pavement outside, and heavy boots thundered up the stairs. Evan stepped back as the police pounded on Chad's door. Open up! Police! The demand reverberated like a gunshot. Chad opened the door with the arrogance of a man who believed himself untouchable. He sneered, his chest puffed, but the sneer faded when he saw Maria standing behind him, her face streaked with tears, pointing past him to the officers as if to say, he's the one. The next moments unfolded in a blur. Chad's bravado dissolved into curses and resistance as the officers restrained him. Maria, shaking but resolute, stepped away, her voice barely audible as she recounted the horrors she had endured. Evan stood in the shadows, unnoticed, as Chad was dragged down the hallway in cuffs. For a brief moment, Maria turned to Evan. Their eyes met, and in that single glance, Evan saw something he never expected: acknowledgement. Gratitude. Maybe even hope. Evan wasn't invisible anymore. That night, he was the thin, trembling line between despair and deliverance.